Hello everybody, my name is Vinny and today I'm going to do a new type of video. If you are a returning viewer of this channel, it's going to be a video about Cards, which is the World War II trading card game available for free on Steam. I'm going to be doing star ratings for the upcoming Breakthrough set, which is going to release in a few days on the 9th of December. Or 8th? I think it's the 8th, because that would be a Tuesday, right? Usually video game stuff comes out on Tuesday, so I'm going to rate every card between 1 and 5 stars. And hopefully this is something we can look back on in the future and see how wrong it was. Or right. A little bit about myself. Let's talk about myself, shall we? I have been playing card games since I was 7. Started with a Pokemon trading card game. Played that for a long time. Was a regional champion, state champion, etc. Played some Yu-Gi-Oh! Won a couple small Hearthstone things, like Legend 900 or so in Hearthstone. I just played a lot of card games throughout the years, and Cards is a very, very interesting one that has recently come to my attention. So, that's why maybe you should believe me. For what it's worth, I am also... I have all my field marshals already. I'm definitely not amazing or anything in this game yet. I mean, I don't have that many cards per se, but I'm no slouch either. So, without further ado, Breakthrough. We're going to go through it nation by nation. Start with Germany here. 56th Jaeger Regiment. 1 star. The body is horrible. The pincer effect, which, if you didn't know, pincer, you select another unit, and then both this unit and the other friendly unit you selected will get the benefit of -1 operation cost. And it does leave when either unit dies. And yeah, this is a 1 star. 2-1 is a terrible body. It is an infantry, which is nice for the Panzer 35T. But I'd rather play like the 1-3 German infantry, or obviously beyond that you would just play one of the many great Japanese infantries that cost 1. So yeah, I mean it's not trash or anything, but it is 1 star. It's not going to see any good play. Lightning Strike. This is a German countermeasure for 1k whenever the enemy draws an extra card, as in one other than the one they would draw at the start of the turn. Deal 3 damage to their enemy HQ. This is a 2 stars for me. I don't think this is that bad. Especially once Breakthrough is out. There's so many extra mechanics to draw cards. I think it's going to be not that hard to trigger this, but ultimately you're mainly going to be guessing. Unless they have something out on the board already that you know for a fact is going to draw extra cards, you are kind of risking your 1k. But yeah, it's not bad. I don't think it's terrible at all. U16. This card I heard some bad things about for sure, but I think it's fine. I think the fact that you can discard, like let's say their hand is already empty, you play this, then they have to discard their top deck with this. I think that's really underrated. It also only costs 1, and I love having more cheap options for like German discard, because that deck tends to do really badly against aggro. At least this gives you something to play on turn 1. So I actually think this card is perfectly fine. To be fair, I don't think that U375, the 2-cost one, I don't think that card is terrible either. And I've heard a lot of people say this is even worse than that, but I don't think it is. I think it's actually better than that one. I'm going to give this 3 stars, U16. 87 Grenadier. Now this is the type of card that is very interesting because it's going to start a whole new archetype of a dedicated countermeasure deck. It's a 2-2 for 2, and it gains 2-2 when the enemy triggers your countermeasure. Oh boy, so this is hard to judge for sure. Tentatively, I'm going to give it 4 stars. I don't think this is going to be the best deck. I don't think it's going to be like winning big tournaments or anything. But you can easily have this thing grow and grow and grow, and there's other countermeasures that are coming out in this set that I'll go over when I get to them that makes this card a lot better. So I think it's a 4-star card for sure. I don't think it's that hard to trigger things like Careless Talk, immediately get it up to 4/4. And then obviously you're going to pack your deck full of countermeasures and 4 of these things. But that's another concern, is that you're going to build your whole deck around this card and there's 4 of them. Now that's a lot, but like, what if you don't draw them? Then your whole deck is just garbage, right? Pretty much. So yeah, I really don't see this being the best deck or anything, but I'll if I get the cards, I'll try it. I think it's very cool. Now the PZ Befelsfagen 35T, 5 stars. I'm gonna give this 5 stars. Free unit to the front line. Obviously, if you do not take control of the front line, then it's bad. But it's only bad. It's not like terrible or anything. It's not literally unplayable. There's way worse things you could have. Like, I would rather play this than a Sherman without the front line. You know what I mean? But when you do get this for free, which you could even do on turn 1 going first with, let's say, a Blitz Japanese infantry, then that's terrifying. I think this card's amazing, and you will get the op cost down to 0 with things like Blitzkrieg. Yeah. I don't know if we'll see it only in dedicated German tank, or if we will also see it in like Japanese, German aggro. I can see it in both for sure. I think this card's amazing. Rapid engagement. This order gives a friendly ground unit cannot be pinned or targeted by enemy orders. So it gives them that buff. Now, as soon as I see this, I think back to the 87 Grenadier, right? Because we need this thing to not be dying to Blade of the Samurai or Sudden Strike, things like that. So I think this would go into that deck because this unit is carrying your entire archetype. Every time one of them dies, you're very, very sad. So that's what I would use this on. But overall, the card, this one's pretty hard to judge. That text is very, very strong. Unlike in a game like Hearthstone, where most of the removal is AoE or untargeted, or from units, like a Battlecry, I think this card is actually fine here. This card would be beyond trash in Hearthstone, but here, it's definitely not 1 star. But is 3 too high? Probably not. I think 3 is fine. It would have to go in very specific decks, like 87 Grenadier deck. And because that deck is probably going to be good to okay, then I think this card belongs in that. So I'm going to give it 3 stars for Rapid Engagement. But I don't... You would probably only still play 2 or 3. Alright, Blom and Voss BV-138. Draw a card when the enemy triggers your countermeasure. 2, 4, 3 cost plane. This is a 5 star. It might end up being just a little bit lower, but I'm going to predict this at 5 stars. This is a really easy and really important effect to trigger, because a countermeasure deck would be a very low cost deck overall, right? Because you're going to be packed with things like Careless Talk and Interception, stuff like that. So actually, you know what? I take it back. I'm going to give Rapid Engagement 2 stars, because I just remembered that things like Interception and Secret Operatives exist, so never mind. 2 stars. This card's bad. Alright, Blom and Voss, because those cards are also countermeasures, right? So you would not even play Rapid Engagement in the countermeasure deck, I think. But yeah, 5 stars, because you're going to be ripping through your hand with all these countermeasures. So this will just draw you a lot, and the body's not even terrible. 5 stars. FW200 Condor. 3/3 bomber for 3, blitz, but cannot attack HQ on the turn that it's played. Sometimes this will just like dominate the board, but ultimately you're paying 5 to do 3 damage if there's no planes, and I think that with Breakthrough, people are going to be playing more planes overall, because there are so many good planes, like the one we just looked at. So this is a 3 stars for me. Reich Research. So this is one of the new research cards. Basically, you're investing credits into future payoffs. So with this one, you can get you can stomp off at the V1 flying bomb, which it'll rotate back in a moment here, and we'll talk about that. So you can pay 3 to get a card that destroys a target unit with a cost of 3 or less. So that's the main saving grace for this one. I think that Germany has the worst research overall, except for the fact that you can stop off immediately for the destroy a 3k or less unit. That card on its own would be 4 stars, and because of that, and that this has some utility, I almost want to give it 5 stars, but I won't, because I think that the upgraded options are way worse than the other nations. So I'm going to give Reich Research a 4 stars, and it's almost entirely because of the V1 flying bomb. Stug 3G Shurzen. Obviously, I don't know how to say that, but I'm just trying. The only failure is to not try, guys. Remember that. 3k, 1 op cost, 3-4, pincer, +1 heavy armor. This is a 4 star, maybe a 5 star. Seems great in German tank. Seems great in just like a mid-range deck of any sort. 1 op cost is good. Gotta remember that both lose the heavy armor when either is destroyed. I kind of want to give it a 5, but since heavy armor does nothing against orders, I mean, I guess giving heavy armor to like your grenadier or something could be good. I'll give it 4 stars. We'll see. It might end up being 5. 81st Infantry Regiment. Now this is just kind of a random standard card that actually is amazing. 4k, 1 op cost, 3-7. So compared to Volksgrenadier, which is like my bread and butter common card, like when I started playing this game, that was the main reason that I hit Field Marshal with my Germany first, was because Volksgrenadier is already a great card. So you get 1 more HP on Volksgrenadier, but it costs 1 more. But it has the benefit that it has +3 attack against HQs and units with guard. That is not a small upside. That's a really good upside. This makes Zippo look like a piece of hot garbage. No flamethrower, pun intended. Yeah, this is at least 4 stars. At least. Is there like some crazy infantry synergy that you could pull off with Germany and something else? I feel like not really. It is a little bit more expensive, which means you don't love playing this in like Japanese aggro, but like you still could for sure. The fact that it is a little more expensive is a little sad. Ooh, with Lightning Conquest though, with Lightning Conquest, that's scary. Yeah, I'll give this 4 stars. This is an amazing card, especially if you're free to play or are new. Just put 4 of these in your deck. This is great. This is just like Volksgrenadier all over again. All right, Night Hunters. Countermeasure 4k. When the enemy deploys a unit, destroy a draw card. Special. I've heard this compared favorably to Missing, but I disagree. I think Missing is quite a bit better than Night Hunters. Because you got to remember, not only is this twice as expensive as Missing, but when it comes to playing countermeasures, just naturally, the more expensive they get, the worse they become by a large margin, because it becomes even more obvious that you've played a countermeasure when you're hanging that many more credits. And also, if your opponent ends up not playing any units, you just wasted 4 whole credits instead of 2. So I do think this card is hugely overrated, but I do still think it's a good card. I'm going to give it 3 stars. For all the reasons I just said, I think that the downsides are really huge, but certainly against decks that have a lot of big units and they can't afford to throw something away super easily, then this card is really, really good. But against like aggro, this is terrible. This is just 4k, huge delays, or like you're delaying yourself. And yeah, I don't think Germany needs another card that's bad against aggro, so I actually think this is pretty overrated. But yeah, I would still play it in countermeasure deck though. Maybe not 2 though. Pack 40, 1 star, 4-1, 2-2 artillery, ambush triple damage tanks. Doesn't matter. It's gonna get removed by order. Just literally anything else bad. Entrapment, 5k countermeasure. Speaking of being obvious, this is super obvious against good players anyway. You gotta be anticipating this if you're floating 5 whole credits. When a unit attacks, destroy it, your units get +1/+1. I actually don't think this is terrible though. I know I started out something like I might think it's bad, but I actually don't think it's that bad. The thing is, the name, it is kind of, you're like entrapping them. Like, let's say you put this in German tank aggro. Like at a certain point, you're running out of cards to play anyway, and you have low op costs, so you have a lot of credits to do nothing with anyway. It's like, all right, attack. Like, you either clear my board with orders or you attack. You have to attack with something, and you're giving my whole board +1/+1. Compare that to Alliance, which is +2/+2. This comes with the benefit that you're destroying the attacking unit. So I think it's fine. I think it's at least 2 stars. I don't think it's hot garbage. I think it's 2 stars. The ME 410 Hornice, yeah, this is trash. This is, it gets removed by Burning Sky, Amphibious Assault, probably getting removed on board as well, unless you guard it up really well, and you're not going to because you're Germany, so you don't have guards. Yeah, this is, I mean, obviously the guards can come from your ally, but this is terrible. It's not the kind of card you would want in a big deck, because to make use of this effect, where the extra card that you draw deals damage to the enemy's base, you would want to play a more expensive deck overall. But this card is, it's like, the effect is like an aggro effect. It's burn damage to the enemy face. Yeah, this is really disappointing. Horrible card. 1 star. Alright, moving on to Britain. Britain has gotten a lot of interesting things. Or they will be getting a lot of interesting things in the coming days. Evasive action. 0k countermeasure. When the enemy deploys the unit with a deployment effect, cancel the effect. I think this is pretty underrated right now. This is at least a 3. Maybe... I mean, I can already picture myself putting this into decks. I'm going to give this a 4 stars. So the fact that it's 0k is priceless. That is amazing. You can trigger this as often as you want, but you don't necessarily want to trigger it immediately, right? Maybe you don't trigger it from the very beginning of the game because you're going to hit something small, like a +1/+1 or whatever it is. It just depends on the matchup, right? Against certain matchups, you keep it till like the very end. Can you imagine just playing this every turn against Soviets and all of a sudden they lose the deployment effect on one of their elites? And it's the fact that it's free, like I said, is just crazy. Like, that's the main downside to countermeasures, is that if they don't trigger, you just wasted your credits. And overall, in cards, because of operation cost, running out of things to play is a lot more rare, because you can pay to move things as well. So I think that this is not just like burning a card, even if it takes a while for it to trigger. I think you oftentimes have better things to do than spend credits on a countermeasure. So I think this is amazing. 4 stars. Critical damage. 2k order. Enemy units get the text. When this unit receives damage, pin it. So I have played against this card on ladder, and it was okay. It wasn't amazing. It's going to be at least a 3-star card. The person was just playing it in your typical US Britain ramp. The thing is, like, there's so many broken British ally cards. Like, you have so many good specials and stuff to stuff in already. I don't know if you want to play this card. You have to have quite a bit of AoE, I think, for this card to become insane. So maybe like a Japanese pin deck together with this. It's certainly really obnoxious once this happens, and then Tora, stuff like that. Yeah. This is at least 3 stars. I'll give it 3 stars for now, because on its own it's pretty bad. But we'll see. Royal Scots. Enemy random effects always chooses units while it's on the battlefield. So the body's actually fine. 1/5 for 2. And this is Britain, where you can do things like naval support and rule Britannia. The effect is pretty decent. A lot of decks have random effects. Overall, I like that there's not very much randomness in cards, but a lot of decks have some sort of random effect, like US Ramp, Akita Regiments, random effects. Okay, so DFA, Death from Above, would hit this as well. So yeah, I was thinking 2. at first. Because, like, what deck are you really playing this in, right? The stat line, I wouldn't put it into a Britain aggro deck because of the stat line. I'm going to give it 2 stars. Yeah, I'll give it 2 stars. Like, the stat line's okay. It's great even against Japanese aggro. But you have so many other guards and AoE options as Britain. It's like, I don't see what you would play this for. Airdrop. I've played against this as well. This is a 4-star card for me. 3k order, retreat an enemy unit in the front line. If it is now empty, add 2 second parachute to it. So when you pull this off, it's insane. If they have 1 unit up there, 3k retreat, and then you get, at minimum, 2/2 worth of value. But they might have to spend credits to destroy those 1/1s. That's so obnoxious. And they might even lose units if they don't. Like, let's say they have blitz units like the 2/1. Well, then they had to trade into these things. And if for some insane reason they can't kill it or they don't kill it, well, they're already 2/2s with Fury on your turn with 0 operation cost. Yeah, this is good. Definitely good. If it becomes really prevalent, you would have to be scared to leave only 1 unit in the front line, because this is really strong. Like, it gives you stuff to occupy the front line as well to ensure that they have to destroy it, so they can't just easily retake front line. Arrow Anson. So this only belongs in the Spitfire deck, of course, and we'll see those Spitfire cards as we go along. 3/1, 1/4 plane, which is bad. It's not, at least has 4 health. Like, it's not the worst, but it's obviously bad. But you play this for the effect. When you attack with a Spitfire, draw a card. We will have to see how that Spitfire deck ends up working. Just like the German countermeasure deck, I do not see it winning big tournaments. But I think it's going to be fine. I've hypothesized up some deck lists for it. I think it's going to be fine. But there's already such powerful British air decks. And the Spitfires themselves are bad cards. No one plays the Spitfires. They're bad. But will all this synergy released for it finally make them good? And we just don't know. So I'm going to predict that this is a... You're going to play this in the Spitfire deck. You're definitely going to play it. I think that deck's fine. I'll give it 4 stars. I'll give it 4 stars. Irish Guards. 2/4. Fury. 1 op cost. Cost 3. Pincer +1 attack. Two stars. I wanted to give it 1, but I think it's going to be 2 stars because in British aggro, you are really hurting for attack buffs because you've got a lot of Fury units. And getting +1 attack matters a lot for things like the 2-pounder. So I don't think it's trash, but it's not good. RAF Ground Crew. Just like the other Avro Anson, this is going to go in your Spitfire deck, and this is the main reason you would play the Spitfire deck. Your Spitfires cost 2 less to deploy, and you get +1/1 when deployed. This is a 4 stars. This effect is crazy good. You're going to need something to protect this, though, because if it just dies and you don't get to play even a single Spitfire, then that's rough, because it's 0 attack. It's not trading with anything. Maybe you guard it up with the 1/5 2-cost guard. You go the 1/5 guard into this, into Spitfire, something like that. So yeah, 4 stars, easy 3 of in a Spitfire deck. Royal Research. So Royal Research has what is probably the strongest final form. But other than that, I think the earlier units or the earlier payoffs is not great. So active sonar pins all enemy units, increase the cost of all cards in the enemy hand by 3. I do not think that's good. It takes too much investment. The enemy would have to have a huge hand, and they won't do that if you're constantly reinvesting. Like, they know they're gonna, or at least they will eventually know once you run into the set being out for a while and people learn and they adapt. They're gonna play around this, so you're not gonna get great value off of that, or you're just gonna be dead because you're spending too many credits. The thing about Britain is that you have an alternate win condition already in Commonwealth. You know, another slow win condition. So this has the advantage that it can beat health gain, because Commonwealth does not really beat that, right? If you don't have a good start, if you can't do good chip damage already, you're not going to win when you Commonwealth. So I don't think it's redundant. I do think it's a different type of win condition with Bletchley Park, which just puts them into full top deck mode, which is pretty much just game over. So, draw a card, your HQ gains 4 defense if you have to stop at 3, like against aggro. Not great, but, you know, not horrible at all either. Britain certainly has good ways to buy all this time, right? With all the health gain and all the guard. So I will preemptively give this... I'll give this 4 stars, but I am not convinced. So I'll give 4 stars. Cruiser Mach 3. I've opened one of these, and the single one that I've played has done amazing things for me. This card might single-handedly enable Britain aggro, especially in the future, as Britain gains more aggro options. This is amazing. Like I said, plus attack for a Britain deck is a huge deal because there's so much fury, there's so many high health, low attack units. This being a 4/5 tank with 1 op cost, that's pretty good already, but then you gotta remember you're giving somebody else +2 attack too, so. I almost want to give it 5 stars. But the thing is, like, Britain aggro decks don't exist right now. Like, I don't have, like, any of the special or elites that I need for a British ramp deck or anything like that. So I can only play Britain aggro, and this card is going to be sick in that. But Britain aggro is definitely not going to be winning any big tournaments, so I guess I can't give it 5 stars. So I'll give it 4. 4 stars on the Cruiser Mach 3. Fog of War. Remove target unit from the battlefield. Put 2 copies on top of owner's deck. Very interesting card. So what this allows you to do is it allows you to know the enemy's next 2 draws. So hitting something bad, like a weak unit with this, has that benefit. Hitting a strong unit obviously has the benefit of removing the strong unit. This card is this card's good. This card is definitely good. It's very interesting. Now, in a fatigue battle, it's bad because you're giving them extra cards in their deck. So you are going to need to win eventually. Which, I guess, is kind of a no-duh statement. Every deck needs to win eventually, but it's not great if your win condition is to just grind them out. So I think it's going to be... I think it's going to be played in like German or like British German discard / bounce, where you try to get them down to like no hand, and then you win by killing them since they can only play 1 card a turn. So that being said, if you remove something weak with this, you're probably playing against an aggro deck, and this is a little too slow. So I'm going to give it 3 stars. I'll give it 3 stars. Sea Patrol. 4k, deals 2 damage to enemy, costs 1 less for each friendly air unit. This is so much worse than Air Superiority, but... I mean, no buts, I guess. There's just so many better direct damage options that I will have to give this 1 star. Seaforth Highlanders. So I would say that Grenadier Guards is a 5 star. This card is great against aggro. Even better than Grenadier Guards against aggro. But if you need to be the aggressor, it is way less good. But you don't typically need to be the aggressor as Britain. You would play some other aggressive cards to back this up. Your back line, your support line does tend to get pretty cluttered though as Britain, and having this in the front line is not amazing. But I'll still give it 5 stars. I'll give it 5 stars because I think it's equally as good as Grenadier cards because it's better against aggro, and I think that's important. Second chance, draw 2 random orders from your deck. So basically 4K draw 2 with the benefit / also downside of you can control what those are. However, if this is toward the bottom of your deck, it's worse than just draw 2. I'm going to give this 2 stars because Britain has way too much draw already. Way better draw than this. But certainly it's going to have options for combos and specific decks. Maybe already or certainly in the future, if not now. 4K draw 2 is not trash by any means. And this would go into a deck where you could turn this into an upside, of course, but still 2 stars. Sunderland Mach 5. Mark 5. 2/6 bomber, 6/2 op cost. At the start of your turn, draw a card. It's probably a 1 star. Yeah, this is just a 1 star. There's way too much good draw in UK already. 2/6 bomber for 6 is bad. You have way better draw options. This is just terrible. Hopefully I don't open this. Wellington. Now this is better. This is an 8/2 5/4 bomber, and that's what you care a little bit more about is the attack on a bomber because, well, you're already not attacking back anyway, so you might as well kill what you're attacking in 1 hit when possible. Costs 2 less to deploy for each order you've given this turn. This is definitely a really good card. Anytime that something can be played for free, it can't be that bad, right? It can never be that bad when it can be played for free. This is a 4-star card. UK has a lot of orders. This would definitely be fine in a commando deck. Like, even though, yes, you need a lot of support line space in commandos, even though this itself is not an order, it's a 5/4 bomber that you're going to be playing for 0. Like, it has to be removed. But guess what? Your commandos also have to be removed. So it's kind of like a lose-lose situation. Like, remove my commando, remove this bomber that is a huge threat, considering that you can very realistically have it out on turn 4 or 5, something like that. Yeah, good card for sure. It wouldn't fit probably in ramp. It wouldn't really fit like in an existing ramp deck or anything like that, or like more like a control deck or a US deck as an ally. But yeah, definitely more like a commando type deck or a pin stall type deck with lots of orders. Yeah, good card. Moving on to Soviets. Soviets here. 128th Rifles. This is a 3/1 infantry with pincer ambush. 1 op cost. 2 stars. Being able to give ambush to something in the front line can, or it doesn't even have to be in the front line, right? It could be a guard. You can give it to one of your own guards. Do something good against aggro, but you gotta remember pincer leaves the field whenever either unit dies, so this having 1 health, it's gonna be super duper easy to kill. But I do see this being playable. I don't know if we would play it, but it's playable in the new Alpine Russia deck that we will talk about later. Because making your Alpine units harder to remove is a really big deal. And also, like an aggro v aggro, ambush matters a lot because they're not going to be playing as much removal orders. So, in aggro v aggro, this card is pretty good. Otherwise, it's really bad. But it's good enough to get 2 stars from me. 456 Rifle Regiment. I opened one of these, and I've been playing it already. I have been liking it. Ultimately, I don't think it's going to fit like in a casual Soviet value deck, but you can definitely build a deck around this card. Self-damage Soviet already exists. It's not good, but it already exists. This card makes it a lot better. Now, when you're damaging yourself, your deck tends to usually be horrible against burn. But this card is a big guard, which is really helpful against burn. You still need to end the game fast, but Soviet self-damage is good at ending the game fast, because your units have a lot of attack generally, and this too will have a lot of attack. I think this card is really underappreciated right now. But I still don't know if Soviet self-damage will actually be good. I think everyone will just continue to play Soviet control. And it's not going to fit in like Soviet Alpine, I'm pretty sure. But I'll give it 3 stars. I'll give it 3 stars. Lesser of 2 evils. Draw 2 cards, then choose and discard a card. This is going to have to be a 1 star for me, because although you would put this into a deck where this could be a benefit, like supply chain, stuff like that. Well, there's already the 2K draw 2, discard all 2 costs. Special delivery, I think. Yeah, special delivery in the US. That card is just infinitely better than this card, because then you can discard all of your supply chains, all of your Bettys, whatever it is. So this has to just be a 1 star, I'm afraid, because there's so many better discard options already. This is essentially boiling down to 2K draw 1. Now it's better than that, because you get to just choose which one to discard. You get to see more cards overall, but it's still a 1 star because there's better options. Reckless Assault. Units get +2/2, and when this unit deals damage, deal equal damage to your HQ. Wow, this is incredibly hard to use. I thought about this pretty hard, and you know, you can puff up like this with that, but you can't even win the game when you play this, because you're killing yourself faster or as fast as you're killing the enemy. This could lead to some ties, which I don't even know what happens. I've never seen a tie yet. This could be like strong in the future. Something could happen, but even when you damage the enemy units, you're damaging yourself. It doesn't matter what you attack. It's just kind of, It doesn't matter if they attack into you and the unit does the damage back. At any point when the unit does damage, you take damage too. So this is a 1 star. Spy Ring. So this is just adding a whole another layer of greediness and expense to playing research. You cannot guarantee what research you get. Soviet already has the ability to go infinite with like first rifles or whatever rifle is called, and the Night Witches. So this is a 2 star. It's not good enough. It's way better control options for Soviet. Yak 7. I was lucky enough to open this, as you can see. The start of your turn, draw a card and deal 1 damage to your HQ. 2/2 plain. This is just 5 stars. It's got 1 off cost, so it's okay against aggro as well, especially since they're going to see this and they're going to want to trade into it. Obviously, it's amazing in an auto-include in Soviet self-damage, but I just think it's an auto-include in every Soviet deck, period. If you draw even 1 card off of this, it's amazing. If it forces removal, well, then it forced removal. Like, you only paid 2K for a unit to get removed. Like, that's fine. I'm fine with that. So yeah, 5 stars. You don't need to really say much more about this. It's amazing. Confusion. Take control of an enemy unit with a cost of 3 or less this turn. So, fittingly enough, this card is pretty confusingly worded. So from having used this, you take control of their unit, and it goes to the same line that they were already in. So even if you control the front line, if you take control of your enemy's support line unit, it will go to your support line. 5 stars. This card is still a 5 stars. This is insane. It has crazy synergy with stuff like Red Banner and Ural Factory, because then you can destroy the unit you stole, get yourself something good. This card is still a 5 stars. This is insane. It has crazy synergy with stuff like Red Banner and Ural Factory, because then you can destroy the unit you stole, get yourself something good, and then they never even get it back. You can take control of a unit, trade it with an enemy unit. Any death effects, like stealing, I've stole Akitas with this, and yeah, the value is just crazy. This card's way too good, and you're gonna have to think about it all the time now against Soviet. 5 stars. Petlikov P2FT, 2-4 bomber. Deployment effects do not trigger 3-2. So of course there's not very many deployment effects in Soviet to begin with, so there's not too much chance of this being a downside. Base stats are, you know, they're all right. It's not a card anyone would ever play, of course, but they're all right. So yeah, I'm going to give this a 4 stars. That text is really, really strong. You're going to want to play some guards or something to protect this as well, to keep it alive, especially since it's a bomber. But yeah, this is really good. I think it might even go in certain aggro decks or something like that to prevent Flampanzer, like with L640. I mean, you could never play L640. You could never, maybe not. You could never play L640 with, I forget that it's an Italian card, not a US card, so I take that back. But, you know, just insane deployment effects like Flampanzer, this can protect you from, and just any deployment effect in general, so I like it. T28. Yeah, I don't like this card. Blitz, Smokescreen, 3-1, 2-3. Pincer when this unit is destroyed, put on top of your deck. So remember that because Pincer leaves when either unit dies, you're only going to be putting this back on top of your deck or whatever else you pincered. Now, 2-3 tank with Blitz is priced at about 2 for Whirlwind, which is a good card. This costs 1 more with the benefit of you can get a card back on top of your deck. And of course, it doesn't come with that good upside of Nebel or Whirlwind. Yeah, this is bad because, like I said, you can already go infinite with Soviet. I just don't know if I want to give it 1 or 2 stars. You definitely don't want to keep drawing this thing over and over again. So obviously, you want to draw the thing that you pincer, but you wouldn't want to put something back on top of your deck unless it was like a good value unit, and that's a lot of greed. And that's not really what you need as Soviet. So yeah, I'm going to give this 1 star. 35th Mountain Rifles, yikes. 5 stars. 5 stars, one of the best cards of the entire expansion. 5-5 Infantry 4K. That's acceptable. The Lecture Rifles are a 5-6, so we're losing 1 health for the huge benefit of being an Alpine. And if this unit is removed from your deck, it enters the battlefield instead. Yeah, I hope you're ready to rage against the cavalry regiment or whatever from Japan that you can play on turn 1, and sometimes it's going to discard this, and there's going to be a 5-5 on turn 1, on top of the 2-2. This is just so broken. This card is insane, and even the fact that even ignoring this text, which is pretty good text, just having a limited Alpine to play together with Italy, if you want to do that, instead of a special Alpine, that's amazing too. This card is crazy. And kind of infuriating if the Japanese thing happens to you. Like, yikes, that's going to be... You can't even deal with this until at least turn 3 for, like, hammers and stuff. Wow. That's broken. Alright, buy the sword. Draw cards equal to the number of enemy units on the battlefield. 4K. So we know Soviet overall struggles with draw, which is why you typically play Japan Ally and use some of the big draw cards they have. And guards and such. So I'm going to give this card a 2 stars, but it would belong very specifically in like a super removal heavy Soviet deck. And also baby combo. I think you would play this in baby combo for sure. But like with some Scorched Earth type of stuff, this card can get really good. But overall, because it's only good when the enemy has big board presence, and then you're having to spend 4K to not answer the board, this card is going to be trash against aggro. But certainly down the line, or in baby combo, or in a lot of stall decks where you're, you know, not playing units of your own so much, and you're just trying to slow or pin or whatever the enemy board, this is going to start drawing a lot of cards. So, and because Soviet needs draw overall, I kind of like it. And I've played it in my like cheap version of Soviet value, and it was bad. I took it out. It was really quite bad, but I definitely see potential in the right deck. So 2 stars. ZIS-2, Pincer, Blitz, 2/2 Artillery. So at first I thought this card was bad until I remembered that, oh yeah, duh, this thing has Blitz too, and you're giving Blitz to something that you're pincering. But the problem is it costs like 4k, so you would have to, the only good things to give Blitz would be stuff that you're playing this turn as well, right? Because giving Blitz to something you've already played doesn't do anything. So I don't think it's that good. But you might design your deck around it. I do have a pretty nice Firestorm deck. And giving Blitz to another artillery in the same turn could be good. But it would have to be quite the cheap artillery. But the ability to give Blitz to anything can potentially be strong. What would we want to give Blitz? Joseph Stalin has 1 op cost, but that costs 10, so that's not happening. The nice thing about this pincer is that losing it doesn't matter because of what it is. It's Blitz. So when you lose it, it doesn't matter. I'm hesitant, but I'm going to give it 3 stars because there's probably something I'm not seeing where you can give something really, really good Blitz. Like Commando? The 1/3 Commando to insta-kill something? I guess. And then this thing can attack instantly as well. So I'll give it 3, but it's probably not that good. 2/2 guard rifles. Yeah, this is a 1 star. I'm sad that I opened one. 7k inventory, 2 op cost, 8/8. It's already pretty bad, but the pincer effect is also bad. At the start of your turn, fully repair this unit. It's at the start. It's at the start. Like, you would have to have such a lead for this to be good that you would have already won the game by then, probably. The only thing this could be good against would be like a huge AoE Britain pin deck where they wear your units down with carpet bombing and naval support and all that. Not naval support, naval op. Whatever the Japanese thing is. Yeah, that's it. And even then, you have to wait super long to play this thing. Yeah, this is bad. 1 star. 25th Infantry Regiment. So I want to give it 2 stars just because finally you can red banner some stuff that, like the air brigade or whatever. You know, any 6-cost Soviet. But I feel like that's not how you really should judge cards. It's like, would I ever put this in my deck? And the answer is, I think, just no. So I think it's got to be a 1 star. It's way too big, way too expensive, way too slow to play in a token deck. But if you wanted to play like a really budget deck or a really, really budget token deck, I think this is okay. But yeah, 1 star. Minority Recruits. Take control of an enemy unit. 10k. So you both remove a big unit and effectively play the big unit of your own, with the downside of course, not getting like deployment effects. Unfortunately, there are a lot of big units that cannot be targeted by orders, so that's scary. It's also Soviet, so you're probably not ramping, so you can't like take usage of Blitz from like a Pershing or something like that. So yeah, it's also horrible against aggro. So I'm only going to give it 4 stars. I'm not going to give it 5. It's useless against aggro pretty much. And there's just certain units that can't be targeted.